Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this markup this morning. I'm appreciative that you brought to the committee a housing finance reform bill. But unfortunately, that's about the only thing positive anyone can say about this legislation. As I said last week at the hearing on this path to nowhere, this legislation is radical, it is unworkable, and it was written in secret without any input from the Democrats on this committee. This stands in stark contrast to other reasonable proposals that have garnered support from both sides of the aisle in the past. Last year, we saw bipartisan legislation introduced from members on this committee, and we currently have a bipartisan housing finance reform bill in the other chamber of this body. From Senators Corker and Warner. That's not to mention a similarly bipartisan approach to FHA reform endorsed by both Chairman Johnson and Ranking Member Crapo. So while I'm appreciative that you're holding this markup, I'm deeply disappointed in the radical and unworkable legislation that is before us today, as well as the lack of interest in making this a collaborative effort. That disappointment was echoed in the hearing testimony we heard last week from stakeholders in our housing finance system, except for the testimony from a few theoretical types from Washington think tanks. All of the stakeholders we listened to, from the consumer advocates to the home builders, to the mortgage bankers, to the independent and community bankers, to the credit unions, to the realtors, to the multifamily housing community, uniformly said that a government guarantee was necessary to preserve the affordable American 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. And this bill fails on that crucial goal. In fact, economist Mark Zandi said during testimony that his bill would increase costs, this bill would increase costs for a borrower with pristine credit along with a 20% down payment by a stunning $130 a month. So, Mr. Chairman, make no mistake, this bill would end the affordable 30-year fixed-rate mortgage and make it a product only available to a teeny subset of lower-income FHA borrowers or to the richest households getting jumbo loans. This bill would be bad for investors, expecting them to accept all the credit risk on U.S. mortgages, but removing key protections in our securities laws. This bill would be bad for community banks and credit unions, with the new utility presenting them with tremendous challenges in accessing the capital markets and severely undercutting FHA. The proposal also leaves them in the dust with a big bank-centric covered bond proposal that requires them to have pick up the tab if these bonds bankrupt the deposit insurance fund. This bill would be bad for consumers, repealing the predatory lending provisions in the Wall Street Reform Act and inviting unscrupulous subprime lenders back into the market. This bill would be bad for renters at a time when vacancy rates are at an all-time low and American families increasingly need access to rental options. The proposal abolishes the trust fund, eliminates the GSE's role in multifamily housing, and makes the FHA multifamily program an administrative nightmare that no lender would want to participate in. This bill would be bad for taxpayers, codifying an implicit guarantee on our housing market by putting risk on the FDIC instead of making the guarantee explicit and paid for by the industry, as other bipartisan proposals suggest. And finally, this bill would be a disaster for the American housing market, which drives nearly 20% of our nation's GDP. Mr. Chairman, today the Democrats will put forward substantive amendments to address these glaring concerns with this bill. We stand ready to oppose this effort unless and until this committee sees a reform proposal that honors the principles we have set forth. So I thank you and yield back the balance of my time.